27 methods of procurement routes in a construction project. In this video, you will learn 27 ways used to execute construction projects. Even if you are not in the construction industry, you will definitely apply one of these methods to the construction of your house, a swimming pool, etc. Generally, procurement is the process of purchasing goods or services. In construction, procurement is also a method of starting and completing a construction project. There are many different routes by which the design and construction of a building, bridge, dam, hospital, road, etc., can be procured, executed or constructed. The selected route should follow a strategy which fits the long-term objectives of the client's business plan, which are likely to include A. Speed. B. Cost. C. Quality. D. Specific project constraints. E. Risk. F. Asset ownership. G. Financing. Etc. Typically, a construction project will involve a funder. This is the means by which the money is made available for the project. A funder can offer financial support through a grant, an investment, or a loan. At times, personal savings can fund a small-scale project. A client. This is the owner, or people or organization or department, etc., for whom the project is being undertaken. In some small-scale projects, a client can also be a funder. A consultants. This is a firm or company or individuals that contribute their operational, strategic, or technical expertise to projects. They can be architects, civil engineers, project managers, surveyors, etc. A contractor. This is the individual, or entity, or combination of entities specialized in certain construction services. Like specialized civil engineering work, or drainage system, or building construction company, or a quantity surveyor, or a land surveyor, or a geotechnical engineer, etc. that negotiates with the client, or a client representative to execute and complete the whole project, or certain aspects of the project. A subcontractor. This is an individual self-employed person specialized in a construction trade, e.g., a plumber, bricklayer, carpenter, painter, electrician, etc. Carrying out work for a contractor or project manager. A supplier. An enterprise that contributes goods or services to the executed project. For example, supply of roofing materials, bricks and blocks, cements, insulators, and other building and construction materials. They can also be manufacturers required for design, and produce some construction components or elements for the project. In construction procurement routes, the most commonly mentioned procurement methods are 1. Traditional contract. 2. Design and build. 3. Construction management. 4. Management contract. And 5. Public procurement. However, there are many other procurement routes, which we are going to briefly enumerate in this video. Let's consider the first one. 1. Traditional contract, design bid build. The traditional procurement route, sometimes referred to as design bid build, is a single-stage, fully designed project where the design is developed in detail by a consultant team working for the client. That is, the client, owner, invites a consultant, which is usually an architect for the project design, including drawings, work schedules and bills of quantities. The client will afterwards invites a specialized, experienced contractor, for example, a civil engineer, structural engineer, project manager, etc., to kickstart the construct of the project designed by the architect. The contract will include penalties for late completion. Payment for the project is paid all at once, or is divided up and paid in installments. This method of construction contract is called traditional procurement route. Next. 2. Design and build. In design and build, a main contractor is appointed to design, and later construct the works. Design and build can be attractive to clients as it gives a single point of responsibility for delivering the project. Design and build projects can follow either a single-stage or two-stage tender process. Next. 3. Design build finance and operate. A single contractor, perhaps a special purpose vehicle, SPV, with design, construction and facilities management expertise as well as funding capability, is appointed to design and build the project, and then to operate it for a period of time, perhaps 30 years, after which the development reverts to the client. This means that the contractor finances the project, and leases it to the client after these agreed period. And the development becomes that of the client. Design, build, finance and operate can be in form of a PPP, public-private partnership, B, PFI, private finance initiative, C, DBO, design, build, operate, D, boot, build, own, operate and transfer, E, ROT, renovate, operate, transfer, F, BOT, build, operate, transfer. In design, build, finance and operate procurement route, public-private partnership, PPP, and private finance initiative, PFI, are the most common forms. Next. 4. Lump sum contract. A lump sum contract is the traditional means of procuring construction, and still the most common form of construction contract. Under a lump sum contract, a single, lump sum, price for all of the works is agreed before the works begin. A price amount is agreed upon where contractors will be responsible for executing the complete contract work for a stated total sum of money. It is generally appropriate where the project is already well defined when tenders are sought and changes are unlikely. This agreed lump sum contract is not a final fixed price. There are still mechanisms that allow the contract sum to change. In a lump sum contract, client's risk is minimal. But delays in the client's financing can delay the project. The tendering process is more transparent and impartial. The contractor's risk is high. With poor productivity and mismanagement, the contract can lead the project into a loss. Next. 5. Management contract. A management contract is one where the works are constructed by a number of different works contractors, who are contracted to and managed by a management contractor. A management contract structure is similar to a traditional contract, however, instead of taking the risk associated with a fixed price, the management contractor is paid back the amounts used in paying the works contractors. And the management contractor is paid a fee, usually in the form of a percentage. The management contractor is generally appointed by the client early in the design process. For example, piling might commence whilst the detailed design of above-ground works continues. This can shorten the time taken to complete the project. But there could be price uncertainty. Management contracting differs from construction management in that management contractors contract works contractors direct. Whereas construction managers only manage the trade contracts, the contracts are placed by the client. In legal terms, the management contractor is acting as a principal whereas the construction manager is acting as an agent. This means that on a management contract, the client only has one contract to administer. Whereas with construction management there can be many contracts for the client to administer. The agreement between client and management contractor is likely to cover both pre-construction and construction activities. The client is likely to define the works contract terms. The contract terms must be clear about what is to be provided by the management contractor, such as the provision of site facilities, and whether activities constitute pre-construction or construction services. In management contract, warranties are usually required for direct claim. For example, if the management contractor becomes insolvent. Next. 6. Self-build. This is where you are self-building, or just getting some work done on your own home. And you need a contractor and any consultants to be involved to provide a formal framework within which work can proceed. Self-building is an alternative to the traditional model of house building. Traditionally, houses are built speculatively by a developer, and then people buy them and move in. With self-building, the prospective homeowner instigates the development of the home themselves. Whether by purchasing a kit house, employing a design and build contractor, employing consultants, such as an architect, and a contractor, or managing the entire process and ordering all the goods and services required themselves. Next. 7. Single-stage tender. Single-stage tendering is a traditional route for procuring in the construction industry. It is used when all the information necessary to calculate a realistic price is available. When tendering commences and so the complete contract can be awarded based on tenders received. The discipline of a single-stage tender should prevent the project team from proceeding to construction without a complete design. Clients and funders value the agreed contract sum as it gives greater security to an application for loans or grants. The contractor is not given an opportunity to revisit the pricing. The disadvantage with single-stage tender is that the firm price is only as good as the design information on which it is based. Single-stage traditional procurement offers limited scope for a team to develop a shared objective or for a contractor to contribute to design development. Receipt of tenders above budget could delay the project as redesign and repricing must be completed before the contract sum is agreed. No work can commence before the contract sum is agreed. Next. 8. Two-stage tender. Two-stage tendering is used to allow early appointment of a contractor, prior to the completion of all the information required to enable them to offer a fixed price. In the first stage, a limited appointment is agreed allowing the contractor to begin work. And in the second stage, when more detail is available, a fixed price is negotiated for the rest of the contract. It can be used to appoint the main contractor early, or more commonly as a mechanism for early appointment of a specialist contractor such as a cladding contractor. It may also be adopted on a design and build project. The client benefits from early involvement of the contractor and buildability ensured. Two-stage tendering enables the client to transfer design risk to the contractor. However, the client inevitably loses leverage as the contractor becomes embedded in the team and competition is less of a threat. However, whilst tender prices for two-stage contracts may initially be higher than single-stage tenders, which are subject to full competition, the final account tends to include fewer variations and fewer claims. Next. 9. Ad measurement contract. Ad measurement contracts are commonly used on civil engineering projects. Rates are provided in the contractor's tender, either as part of the priced bill of quantities, or within a schedule of rates. Ad measurement contract means a contract under which the works are executed on the basis of agreed rates and prices in a bill of quantities and payment is made for the quantity of work actually executed. Then the actual quantities of work carried out are measured and the rates are applied to those quantities. As a result, the quantities paid for may vary from the original estimate. Next. 10. Construction management. Construction management is a procurement route in which the works are constructed by a number of different trade contractors. These trade contractors are contracted to the client but managed by a construction manager. The construction manager acts as an agent for the client, administering and coordinating the works contracts. The construction manager is generally appointed early in the design process so that their experience can be used to improve the buildability and packaging of proposals as they develop. Next. 11. Contractor Led. Contractors provide a design team to develop a concept design as proposals for the tendering process, typically leading to two teams proceeding to Stage 3. During Stage 3, assessments are finalized, and one construction team is appointed preferred bidder. The preferred bidder will continue tendering core packages to finalize their contract sum. A shadow design team may be part of the client team that review this information for compliance with the requirements of the building contract. The timing of the contract award will depend on the planning process. Next. 12. Cost-led procurement, CLP. Cost-led procurement, CLP, is a procurement method intended to allow industry to use its experience and knowledge to develop innovative solutions through leveraging design, materials, subcontracting, direct labor and experience to the advantage of the public sector client. This procurement method is best suited to projects where costs cannot be exceeded and where there is a highly functional and historically repetitive aspect to the project such as schools, prisons, defense accommodation, roads, waterwork, etc. You can pause at any time to take notes. And if you are learning something from this video, please do not forget to subscribe, like and share. Let's continue with the next one. 13. Custom build. Custom build homes are where prospective homeowner works with a developer that can take on the design and construction of the home on their behalf and may help find and acquire a site and arrange finance. Developers may also offer serviced plots within sites that they have already purchased and may offer a range of design options from which the client can select their preferred solutions. Whilst the scope for personalizing the home may sometimes be slightly reduced by selecting a custom build rather than self-build option, and costs may sometimes appear to be higher, although in the long run, as the project is likely to be better controlled, the final price may actually be lower. The organizational burden is very much reduced, and there is less risk, less stress, and less potential for problems to arise. Next. 14. Emerging cost contracts. An emerging cost, time and materials or T&M, contract is a management contract for works and services where the management contractor is paid direct costs identified in an estimate of project costs. It is often applied over a certain period of time. This means that design and workmanship should give greater consideration to long-term performance issues. Emerging cost contracts are often used on projects such as railway infrastructure contracts. They provide for sophisticated management services along with subcontracting the construction of the works. Next. 15. Engineering Procurement and Construction Contract, EPC, also known as turnkey contract. EPC contracts, sometimes called turnkey contracts, are similar to design and build contracts, in that there is a single contract for the design and construction of the project, but generally with an EPC contract, the client has less say over the design of the project and the contractor takes more risk. The turnkey option has been used for a long time, mainly in building civil infrastructure projects, or with public and governmental bids. Or when the project has a high level of complexity and there is a well-defined scope on behalf of the owner. But in recent years it has been used indiscriminately in contractual processes of IT projects, including data centers, regardless of size, complexity and scope. Generally, EPC contracts are used on engineering and infrastructure projects, where the aesthetics of design might be considered less important than performance and cost certainty. The main advantage of this service is the peace of mind the owner gets when it hands over full responsibility of the project to only one contractor. It is much easier for the owner to manage and communicate with one provider, which means one neck to choke. The disadvantage is that when assigning full responsibility of the project, the owner gives up all rights to interfere and control the project, and things such as topology, specs, scalability etc., as well as the materials and equipment that needs to be employed. Next. 16. Engineering Procurement and Construction Management Contract, EPCM. EPCM contracts are similar to EPC, engineering, procurement, and construction contracts, but the client employs the necessary trade contractors to construct the works. That is, companies are contracted by the owner directly to provide services. The contractor acts as a construction manager, managing the trade contractors. Effectively, they are performing the role of a consultant during the construction phase. Lower overall cost and no markup due to contract risk, competitive pricing advantage remain with the owner. However, the owners carry most of the risks. And increased effort of the owners is required because of the heavy involvement in day-to-day operations. Next. 17. Fast-track construction. Typically associated with construction management and management contract projects, fast-track construction overlaps project tasks, such as design and construction, to reduce the overall project duration. Fast-track construction is typically suited to standard building types with repetitive elements and straightforward construction processes. It requires flexibility, coordination and cooperation. The project team should be experienced in the technique so that they can envisage how the project will develop and anticipate risks. It is likely that fast-track construction will be more expensive than a similar traditional contract. Whilst the same number of tasks need to be performed, they are condensed into a shorter period, and so are likely to require more resources. The risks associated with fast-track construction are also likely to be higher, increasing with the extent to which tasks overlap and the number of tasks that are performed concurrently. In addition, the client will not know the exact cost of the project when they make the decision to proceed, as prices will not have been obtained for all the packages. As a result, they may wish to allocate a higher contingency to the project. Fast-track construction should only be considered by experienced clients with experienced project teams. If a single element goes wrong, the entire project sequence can unravel. Collaborative working practices can evaporate and the potential for misunderstandings and adversarial behavior can increase dramatically. Any time that might have been saved can be lost and delays can compound one another. Fast-track construction should only be attempted where there is a strong justification and where the risks are fully understood. Next. 18. Furniture, Fixtures and Equipment, FF&E. FF&E refers to the procurement of furniture, fixtures and equipment. This might be procured separately to the main construction contract, particularly by clients that may already have systems in place for procuring fixed and loose furniture, fittings and equipment, for example schools or hospitals. It is very important under such circumstances to define which contract every element of FF&E is within. Requirements that affect the main contract might include: A. Built-in equipment requiring mechanical or electrical connections, such as fume cupboards or drink stations. A description of built-in equipment should include location, size, and requirements for power, air, water, drainage and telecommunications connection. B. Built-in equipment that does not require services such as cupboards or shelving. These should be described in terms of their location and size. C. Standalone loose furniture and equipment requiring services, such as washing machines, coffee machines and scanning equipment in hospitals. D. Standalone loose furniture and equipment not requiring services such as tables and chairs. It is also important that any elements that are outside of the main contract are included in the client's cost plans. FF&E can be procured from specialist suppliers, or suppliers with whom the client already has a long-term relationship. This may include maintenance arrangements. Some elements may be specially designed by FF&E designers or sourced by FF&E consultants. There is also a need for a carefully managed FF&E inventory and logistical planning to ensure items are available on site at the right time. Next. 19. Framework agreements. Clients that are continuously commissioning construction work might want to reduce timescales, learning curves and other risks by using framework agreements. Such arrangements allow the client to invite tenders from contracts to be carried out over a period of time on a call-off basis as and when required. They should describe the contract conditions that will be used for pre-construction services, such as design, and/or the contract conditions that will be used to execute the works. Framework tender documents are likely to include: A. The starting and completion dates of the agreement. B. Requirements and obligations regarding insurance, bonds and warranties. C. A description of the contract conditions to be used and assumptions regarding preliminaries. D. A description of how the project will be managed in its various stages and the basis of remuneration. E. A description of the tender selection procedure and assessment procedure to be employed by the client. F. A description of inflation, interest and retention percentages to be applied. G. A description of incentive mechanisms to be applied. H. A description of dispute resolution procedures. I. Rates for travel and subsistence expenses. J. A request for schedules of rates and time charges to be submitted and a breakdown of resources and overheads to be applied to design or manufacture and installation, including any proposed subcontractor or subconsultant details. K. Any other criteria required from tenderers in order that the client can properly assess their suitability. Next. 20. Guaranteed maximum price. A guaranteed maximum price (GMP) is a form of agreement with a contractor in which it is agreed that the contract sum will not exceed an specified maximum. This type of legal agreement sets a ceiling, or maximum price for which a person or entity will pay for a certain project. A contractor such as a homebuilder is compensated for actual costs incurred plus a fixed fee, subject to a maximum amount. As a result, the contractor is responsible for all cost overruns, and any savings resulting from cost underruns are returned to the contractee, the home buyer. Typically this is a mechanism used on design and build contracts, where the contractor has responsibility for completing the client's design, and for carrying out the construction works, so they are in a good position to control costs. A guaranteed maximum price contract is an attractive option for a person seeking to hire a contractor for obvious reasons. The contractee is obligated to pay no more than the maximum contractual price, and recoups any cost savings that may result from efficient project control. Improvement in subcontractor or supplier pricing or ideal weather conditions, among other reasons. This arrangement, however, can result in additional costs not covered under the contract. Next. 21. Measured term contracts. Measured term contracts are used where the client has a regular program of works that they would like to be undertaken by a single contractor. That is, this contract is designed for use by employers who have a regular flow of maintenance, minor works and improvements projects that they would like to be carried out by a single contractor over a specified period of time. They are generally used for minor works or for maintenance work. Next. 22. Measurement contract, known as remeasurement, OR measure and value contract. Measurement contracts, sometimes called remeasurement or measure and value contracts, can be used where the design or type of works can be described in reasonable detail, but the amount cannot. For example, excavation, where the quantity required is difficult to assess until after the works have begun. The contract sum cannot be determined when the contract is entered into, but instead is calculated on completion based on remeasurement of the work carried out. Next. 23. Partnering. Partnering arrangements are intended to enable full integration of design, construction and operation. Partnering arrangements are linked by bi-party contracts and can include contractors, suppliers and specialist designers. Collective and individual incentive schemes for delivery can be included in cost reimbursement and fee payments. Partnering requires heavy involvement from the client acting as employer and adjudicator of disputes. Next. 24. Prime cost contract. Cost plus contract. Cost reimbursable contract. Prime cost contracts are sometimes called cost plus contracts or cost reimbursable contracts. They might be used where the nature or scope of the work to be carried out cannot be properly defined at the outset, and the risks associated with the works are high. They are often used where an immediate start on site is required, for example for urgent alteration or repair work. Tendering proceeds based on an outline specification, any drawings and an estimate of costs. The contractor is paid the prime cost, the actual cost of labor, plant and materials, and a fee for overheads and profit. Next. 25. Prime contracting. Prime type contracting. Prime contracting is a form of procurement in which the client enters into a long-term relationship with a contractor who provides a single point of contact, prime contract, for a supply chain to deliver one or more projects. This is one of the 3 procurement routes recommended by Government Construction Strategy for publicly funded projects, where it is described as prime type contracting. Next. 26. Public procurement. The common minimum standards, referred to in the Government Construction Strategy. Procurement routes should be limited to those which support integrated team working (PPP). PFI, design and build, the prime type contracting approach and framework arrangements. Under each of these, the client appoints a single integrated supply team, including designers, contractors, suppliers and perhaps facilities managers, which is based on an output-based specification before design commences. Public projects or publicly subsidized projects in Europe may be subject to OJEU, Official Journal of the European Union, procurement procedures. Next. 27. Schedule of rates term contract. This form of contract is normally used when the nature of work is known, but cannot be quantified, or if continuity of program cannot be determined. In the absence of an estimate, tenderers quote unit rates against a document that is intended to cover all likely activities that might form part of the works. Indicative quantities may or may not be given to tenderers but do not form part of the contract. This is a quick summary of the common 27 ways to procure construction projects. That's a good run of summary. If this video was helpful, please do not forget to subscribe, like and share. This is Construction. I will see you in the next video lesson.